Sebastian, you're on. Let me introduce Sebastian. Sebastian Schumann is from T-Mobile Slovakia, and in his day job, he does all kinds of 3GPP, GSMA, telco stuff, which is really interesting, isn't it, Sebastian?
Very much, yes.
Yes, you can see how enthusiastic he is.
So exciting.
But in his downtime, he switches into another alter ego and becomes a telco hacker. And in fact, in that capacity, he came along to one of the TADHack sessions in London, where not only did he compete and do an amazing TADHack, but he won. So what Sebastian's going to do now is tell us a little bit about that story, what you did and what you experienced. And the idea behind this is to try and recruit a few more telco hackers. And you know who you are, those people who like to think SS7 is great and IMS is wonderful. You too can come and do telco hacking. So, Sebastian, I'll get off. You're on.
Thanks, James. So I'm going to talk about my hack. James already introduced myself, so I'm working for Slovak Telecom. And I'll not only talk about what I did at TAC Hack, but a bit how I came there, because it all started around a year ago in the last TED Summit that I made the proper connections and kind of got a bit more involved. And I'll also kind of sum it all up where it was helpful, both the TED Summit, the connections I've made, and the hack I've actually done. So to start with the why did I come there? There were two things. One of the things was the inspiration at TED Summit that I kind of always looked for, doing things a bit differently than they were done in the past with operators. And for some time I was a bit alone with this approach in the company and generally in the telco environment. But I saw at TED that there's an ecosystem actually supporting you, and there are new partners that kind of understand the legacy, but and can even help you there, but also understand the future. And so that was very helpful, very inspirative, and I made the right connections. And then I would say as the year turned in January, February, I discovered a real world problem at work that we needed to map a fixed number and a mobile number. And for doing that, there's of course a classic approach. You have CRM systems where both fixed numbers are in and mobile numbers. You can verify customers, they can go to stores and present their IDs, and then you can do that. But doing that involved a lot of work, and at this point in time it was rather unfeasible and considered rather complex. And thinking a bit about it, about this problem of mapping fixed and mobile numbers, and knowing that there are actually interesting partners out there, I wanted to try to kind of solve this problem in a bit of a non-classical way, and even myself. And on top of that, I got kind of inspired by the stories that were presented at last year's TED Summit already, that if you have a good idea and you can actually make it work in small, maybe it may even become big enough to kind of work in real life. So I took this knowledge of partners, this real world problem, a bit of ludic drive, trying to play with the things I've learned and develop things actually, get a bit of hands-on experience, program a bit. I tested the RESTCOM system from Telestacks. I played a bit as well with the Nexmo API. Back then, and kind of connected the two, built an API service, put a web front end on it, and from all of that, the technology partners I've learned, the real problem we had, the kind of solution came up, and I came with this to TADHack, and on TADHack I actually finalized the API and did the proper connection, so it actually worked in the end. And to give you an understanding very briefly what the service is about, so as I said, it maps a fixed and mobile number without any CRM system. All you need to have is actually a fixed and mobile phone, or two phones anyway. So you need phones where you have access to, physical access. The way it works is very simple. You send an SMS with the keyword link to detect kind of the service that you want, and the fixed number from your mobile number through an Nexmo phone number, so a real phone number, to my service. Then you create kind of a link between the two. The mobile number is already verified through the identification of the sending party. The Nexmo, so the API generates a pin out of that, sends it back via the Nexmo API, and then you have kind of the link, you have the key element, you verify you own the mobile phone, and in the end, you call from your fixed number to RESTCOM directly. You enter the pin you receive via SMS, and if everything matches, you kind of confirm that you're at this moment owning or have physical access to all these devices and map your numbers. And a brief scheme how that looked like was like this. So we have RESTCOM interacting with the API, Nexmo interacting with the API. The API was the part I've built using Node.js. There was a database, MongoDB in the backend for kind of the table, and I've built a small web front end that interacts directly with the API in front. And so this was the solution actually. I'll come in the end to the real business problem that we tried to solve with it, but it was working, so that was quite fine. That was, I would say, the first result of the TADHack. We have actually a working implementation. So I could take this now and do things with it, start a separate service or use it internally, try to feed it back. And this is, I would say, so the working service is the big thing that also made me happy, made me proud, and in the end helped me to win the prize. But I think it also showcased that even if you have a complex solution, and if you look at it from your limited telco like viewpoint, to think, okay, we have these IT systems, it's very hard to connect the two. Probably we cannot do it. If you look at it from the outside, or just look at the tools you have, or maybe try a different approach, it's actually much easier and much cheaper as well, and faster to develop services. It's also a showcase that there's actually a huge ecosystem of partners that will support you in this. So if you have a good idea, people actually with huge experiences, both from the legacy world, from the telco world, from the internet world, programmers, as well as people that own the systems that you have access to through TAD, will share their experience openly on the TADHack, make you use the components, and in the end you have a working prototype that you can then transform into a real product, or into at least a part of a solution, and have continuous support for that. And this is actually really interesting and much different than how we had the vendor relation in the previous times, where you send out an RFP, you get some responses, you just make your ticks, and then you choose a vendor, and if you have a problem, you send a support ticket. If you want to change, you send a change request. So it's kind of, that's how it was done, but I don't think that's the way we can continue to build service in the future. And what it also showcased, that there is a huge value in breaking our job decisions. So I'm not a programmer. Sasha was actually saying before that it's not the developers really, like the coders that develop services, it's everyone. And the same was for me. I mean, I'm kind of I did always a bit more than just evaluate RFPs and do designs, but I'm not really a hardcore programmer. But with a bit of Stack Overflow, with a bit of coding experience, I actually managed to build a service interacting with SMS, interacting with the fixed line, appearing somehow, results appearing on a website, which is already rather complex. And it was really not that hard, and that shows actually that the potential the system has once real developers get their hands on it, right? And last but not least, as I mentioned already, to create these kind of services, we need to learn as operators that we can do it ourselves. We can basically learn ourselves how to do it. We can try to iterate. If something doesn't work, if it's not like we want it, we're able to change it directly. And that does not mean that in the end the solution that I've programmed will run in the live network, but that means that we get enough experiences and that we can iterate through with marketing to actually shape products, or shape parts of products or solutions before we actually give them to our customers. And not every small change requires actually the vendor's involvement or a change request. So I think that was the rather my own experiences and the things I would take with it. But there was also a benefit for the company. By the way, as James was mentioning, when I was joining the TADHack, I did that more or less in my free time. So it was not that I've been sent there or delegated to join it. It was really like I had a good idea, I was programming it, and I thought it's worth joining it. But in the end, there was also something good for the company, because actually the result is tangible. So we've launched a service the other day, a parallel ringing service, which means you can buy a tablet with a SIM card, and if you map that SIM card phone number to your fixed line account, the tablet will ring in parallel to your fixed line. It's targeted for older people, so that they can answer phone calls when they are when they're on the go to their fixed line. So whether that's an innovative product or not, but it's at least a product that serves a market need. And for this product, we basically have a channel when you go to the shop. So when you go to the shop, you can map your tablet number and the fixed number directly in the shop. But when you use the self-care, when you order it online, there is actually no way of doing that. And we use the idea I had on TADHack to actually build it exactly like that. And even more interestingly, the professional implementation that we've done, so it wasn't me who has done it in the end, but the guys that implemented it used even part of my code base. to implement that, which was quite nice and quite interesting, because again, it helps me also understand what they programmed, and if in the future we need a small change or we want to try something, we can work based on that. The other thing we did is we've replaced the SMS API with from Nexmo in my hack with our own API. Now one could think that's a bad thing for Nexmo. Well, okay, we're not using them here, but it shows that even though for development it would have been for me much more complex to integrate with our own API. So why not, even though we are a telco, why not use something that is out there, Twiley or Nexmo, to just get started, and then later on, if you have something that is worth the effort of actually integrating, you'll just do it, and if it isn't, well, then you don't. And for the telephony termination part, so for the IVR interaction and the API interaction, we were using the RESTCOM platform from Telestacks for our hack, and actually we are also using that for the self-care solution, so that was the element that remained. And because of the rather small load that we're using, and that since it's only for the self-care channel initially, we even integrated the local application for self-care with the cloud part from RESTCOM. So we've enabled secure communication, so it's all going by HTTPS, directly communicating with our enabler, and we were actually able to define the service logic ourselves. So I could take the service logic I've built the hack with to actually build a service logic for a commercial service. I mean, imagine that. It's quite amazing. We don't need a change request. We don't need to involve the vendor. We just use drag and drop elements to create a telephony service that our customers will interact with. I think that's pretty good. And if we would have used systems for that we own, like an existing SDP or something else, I think it would have taken significantly more time and also money to actually get that to work. So that's I would say that's a good result, both for Slovak Telecom as well as for myself, and to kind of bridge the gap to where TAD was helpful. So I personally think that it's very helpful for operators because it shows or gives exposure to new companies that are on one hand, of course, cheaper because everyone likes to pay less. But I would say that's not the most important thing. The most important thing is that these companies are not behaving or are not acting like the old legacy companies that operators work with. They're very flexible. They're very easy to extend. They're easy to try out. They're easy to even by yourself, like literally. They're rather open. If you want to change, and it can be done quickly, they'll interact with you. They support you kind of building the service because they believe in this kind of different way of doing things. While if you talk to legacy vendors, I'm not going to mention them now, but if you talk to legacy vendors, they still, I would say, haven't fully understood this kind of transition. And that's I think one of the most important part to connect here at TAD with these new companies, to bring it back home, and whenever you have a new problem, to kind of reach out to them as well as to the old ones, and then simply compare. And you can compare both flexibility and price, and you'll see where the benefits are really. The second thing I think where I believe TAD is very, very helpful, or a very nice showcase, what we see here is to kind of tackle the gap between all things telco and all things internet, because all things telco are usually boring, and we've heard that before. Nobody likes operators, and telecoms is outdated, and all these kind of things. And internet is everything. Internet is cool. Internet is the new thing, and we want to do things the new way. But I believe there's something that is in between, and I would say that the TAD movement, or the TAD groups that are involved here are kind of really putting their finger on that, trying to address that. And if there are people on both sides that understand that, that means on the vendor side, but of course also on the operator side, then I think it has a lot of future. And it's not boring. You can do a lot. You can innovate. As an operator, you can support others to innovate. You can innovate yourself if you want to, of course. If you don't want to, that's your own fault. But if you want to, at least you get an understanding that there are out there vendors that support you, as well as other operators that went through that journey. And seeing that was very helpful for me to know actually I'm not alone in that thing I want to achieve. And so that's pretty much it. You meet smart people, share experiences, learn a lot, and take the spirit home. And that's also what I did from last year in Istanbul. And it kind of held up till this year. So I built a service, continued to work with the partners I've met there, and in the end, I'm here to actually present that 1 year later as a success story. And I think that's pretty cool. So my conclusion is, instead of thinking that telco is boring and internet is good, think about the TAD as something in the middle that takes the best of both worlds and really is a new way of working. And I would encourage every operator that doesn't yet to get involved with all the companies here and really do something with them. So thanks a lot. Anything?
Thank you. Great, and we've got about 1 minute, 2 minutes. So there is a little bit of time for questions if anybody wants to ask Sebastian a penetrating question. Anybody? God, you've wowed them. So thanks for that, Sebastian.
Thank you.
That's brilliant. I can't think of a better evangelist for the TAD cause. Brilliant.